Happy Halloween, Braden Hornets. Today I'm going to show you how to make this really neat watercolor textured pumpkin. And to do this project, you're going to need a Sharpie or a black crayon, some markers in warm colors, so yellows, oranges, reds, and pinks, a piece of paper, of course, a water cup or bowl with a paintbrush, and a little bit of table salt. So to start off, we're going to draw the pumpkin, and we're going to make it look three-dimensional. Depending on which way you turn your paper, you can make your pumpkin either tall and lean or kind of short and wide. So turn your paper the way that you want your pumpkin to be. And then at the top of your paper, we're going to draw the stem first. And to make it look 3D, we're going to draw the top of the stem as an oval. And I want my oval to be wider than it is tall. Then down the sides of the oval, I'm going to draw some curved lines that kind of curve out from each other near the bottom. Next, I'm going to draw the center of the pumpkin. So this is going to be my largest shape. I'm going to start under the stem, and I want it to go all the way to the bottom of my paper. So I'm going to start by drawing kind of a curved line that curves over and connects the two sides of my stem. But then I'm going to continue, and I can make this kind of a wavy line. As I come down to the bottom, I'm going to make my shape the widest. And as I get up to the top, it will be slightly thinner. Now I'm going to kind of mimic or copy the side of this pumpkin and this side as I draw the additional shapes on the pumpkin. So this time I'm going to start a little bit higher on the stem, and I'm going to draw kind of another wavy line that follows the path of the first one. But down here at the bottom, I'm going to end just a little bit higher, kind of on the side here. And this is what will make my pumpkin look round or 3D. I'm going to repeat that step on the other side, following the shape of my pumpkin, ending a little bit higher. Now I have enough room here to do one more of these lines on each side. I don't want to put them too close together. So I'm going to start a little bit higher on my stem and end a little bit higher on the side of my pumpkin here. Same thing on my other side. And now for my final few shapes, I'm going to make them look like we're kind of looking at the back sides of the pumpkin. So I'm going to start a little bit higher, and this time I'm going to end my shape way up high. So it looks like we're only seeing part of it here. Same stuff on the other side. And for the very last shape, I'm going to make it curve around back, but I'm going to practice overlapping and go behind my stem. So now that I've got my pumpkin shape, I'm going to color the stem with a green crayon or oil pastel. Either one would work. You don't want to use marker for this part because we're going to be adding water. And if our stem is colored with marker, that green will kind of blend into the other parts of our pumpkin. So I just want to use crayon here. For the rest of my pumpkin, I'll be using my markers, and I'm not going to color it in. Instead, I'm going to use all of these different warm colors to make lines that kind of follow the shape of my pumpkin. And I want to leave a little bit of space between my lines, but not a ton. So I'm going to kind of go through and do this first orange, and I'm not adding a lot of lines this first round because I'm going to add all my other colors too. And even though I want my pumpkin to be orange, I'm going to add yellow and red and pink, because we know that if we mix yellow with any type of red or pink, that will also make orange. So this way I'll get kind of some different versions of orange. Some yellow orange, some red orange, some kind of pink orange. So I want to get all the different warm colors in here. And I'm just kind of spreading them out. If your markers are a little bit dried out for this project, it totally doesn't matter because they're going to blend together anyway when we get them wet. The more lines I add, the more colorful my pumpkin will be when I add the water. So you don't want to skimp on the lines. You want to make sure you add lots of them. And by kind of following the shapes that I already made with my Sharpie, my lines will kind of add to the 3D effect of my pumpkin once I add the water. All right. So now that I've got all of my lines really close together, I'm going to start to add water. Now, I'm also going to use my salt. But the important thing about the salt is that in order for it to create the texture on your pumpkin, like you see here, is it has to be able to dry so it can kind of soak up the water in that spot. So anywhere I sprinkle salt, I want to make sure that that spot is completely finished and I don't have to paint over it again. So I'm going to go through, and since I'm going to cut this out, I'm not going to worry about going outside of the lines. And I'm just going to spread my marker out with that water. And I actually want to use enough water that I kind of get some little puddles on here. And wherever my water starts to puddle up, I'm going to take a teeny little pinch of table salt and I'm just going to sprinkle it in. And as that dries, it's going to soak up that water and leave kind of a little crystal texture behind. So it'll make our pumpkins look bumpy and kind of warty like real pumpkins can be. If you've ever visited a pumpkin patch, you'll know that some pumpkins have lots of bumps all over them, and some can be smooth too. So if you don't want to add salt, you don't have to. Now I've got another puddle here, and since I'm done painting this area, I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle in little bits of salt. I don't want a lot of salt. I definitely don't want to use more than 2 pincher fingers to get a little bit of salt, especially since I don't want salt all over the floor. I'm going to add some more salt into my puddles here as I go. And I'm doing this as soon as I make the puddles so that they don't have a chance to start drying. But I'm going to be careful not to paint over those areas where I've already added the salt. Now this is a great way to make a watercolor painting if you don't have any watercolors. And once I sprinkle in my last couple of pinches, I'm finished with my pumpkin for now. And when I let it dry, I'm going to cut it out. And you could even try making some different colored pumpkins and make a really colorful pumpkin patch. And these would be great Halloween decorations if you wanted to hang them up.